What is going on? Welcome to SDS, or Drum Better Daily. We're going to be looking at double strokes, so 30 days to better double strokes. I'm going to kind of be telling you exactly what all this is about. You guys can chat in the chat board if you're watching this live. If you're not, you can just watch it and take notes. But first, I kind of want to tell you a little bit about myself. If you've never been in a live lesson, you may not know what it is I do. So I do this full time, like I teach online full time. This is my gig. I've been doing it we've been open this October. So tomorrow actually will be 4 years that we've been open. Stevens Drum Shed, and we've recently released Drum Better Daily, which is just an organized way to go through lessons online. And so this system, 30 days to better doubles, is simply like a micro look at what I do in the members area on my website. So the way I'm working through this material is the same way I work through all material, no matter what it is. So the material changes, the lessons change, but the processes don't change. I'm going to take my students through the same processes every time we do this thing, okay? So I want you to kind of remember that as we go. Now, why does something like this work? Well, first of all, it's goal-oriented. I'm huge on having goals, making sure you hit those goals, making sure my students are tracking their progress. I'm huge on having that for you and having you do that. So the way I can let you see why this works is compare it to the membership program. So and I'm not like hawking something right now. I'm just explaining this is the only way I know how to teach, all right? And so what I do with the lessons is I divide them up into 8 weeks. So we have an 8-week track, and maybe you're studying right now. We're doing a track on New Orleans drumming, which is extremely fun. We're on lesson 4 of that. We're also doing one on hand and foot doubles, and so we break it apart into 8-hour-long lessons with 8 practice breakout sessions. So the first week is entitled Start. The first week of every one of them is entitled Start, okay? And if you'll look at your sheet music here, we're definitely going to get to this, but if you'll look at your sheet music, you can see that we have 2 pages of sheet music with 10 exercises. We have the daily routine, and then I've got a calendar there. I want you to print that calendar off, and I want you actually to tell yourself when you're going to show up to practice, like ahead of time, like next week, when am I sitting down to practice? It can be different times every day, but it's really important that you put that there so that you know what time you're supposed to show up. So you're dedicated to showing up at that point, all right? The next thing we have is a daily BPM chart. You're going to be tracking. I want you can go ahead and print off 30 of these. And I want you to track every day where your various tempos are. And then lastly, we have a checklist. And on the first week of every new track that my students go through, there's a checklist for the whole track, like for 2 months, 8 weeks worth of lessons. They're checking off as they're going, making sure they're doing the materials. So in the start lesson, we have a lesson, but we also have materials that make them walk through and set their goals. When are you going to finish this? How are you going to finish? It's very similar to what we're doing with this. We have 30 days. That's the goal. So if you're starting tomorrow, guess what your goal is? By the end of October, you're done, right? And if you want to repeat it, that's fine, but you have your goal. That way you know what you're going for. The second week of every track is called Work, and that's where we do what we're doing on that calendar. We're looking ahead of time, and we're going, okay, this is when I'm going to show up to practice. I'm hanging this, it's on stone. I'm letting everybody in the house know I'm practicing at this time so they don't bother me. And at that point, you've committed yourself to showing up. So ahead of time, you get to look through and go, okay, well, what would get in the way of me practicing? Like what, okay, I can see that traffic might get in the way there. How can I rearrange that? I can see that Sunday football maybe will get in the way. Maybe I can rearrange my practice schedule so I can do all of that. So it makes you troubleshoot beforehand. Assess is week 3 of every track, and it's the same thing we're going to be doing here. Every day, we're going to be assessing our progress, and on week 3, you would look back at the track and go, okay, cool, this is the 3rd lesson. How am I doing on my goals? For this, I want you looking back every day and going, where was I yesterday? Where am I tomorrow? Am I on track to hit that 30 days? Did I set my BPM goals high enough? Did I set them low enough? That's what I want you to do. Review and renew is the 4th week of every track that anyone goes through on my site, and that is going to be where you actually look back and you look at all the old material and go, okay, well, I got to learn that, and the new material, and you split your practice time up. Okay, we don't really have to do that with this because this is just one program that we're going through. The 5th week is called Apply. So I don't want you to just take these these concepts that you learn in 30 Days to Better Doubles and like isolate them on just the snare drum. I want you to apply them around the kit because your doubles are going to be different on your floor tom, your doubles are going to be different on your high tom versus your snare drum. So you need to be able to do double strokes all around the drum set. So once you get this down, start taking your doubles around the drum kit and play the exercises on the floor tom, play them on the high tom. Become accustomed to that rebound. That's what week 5 does. It makes you apply all of the information. Now, week 6 in every track is going to be reassess. You look back at your goals. You're going to be doing that every day. You see how it's very similar to how I work through like big topics? We're just working through a very specific topic, double strokes. Then week 7 is called reflect. You look back at everything, you rearrange your practice time, make time for the old stuff you're practicing plus the new stuff, and I actually give them a template on how they can actually redo their practice time. And then the 8th week is called finish. So after you get done with this, I want you to look back, and the 8th week focuses on, we actually have printable resources where they fill out a PDF of what all did you learn? Like what all did you go through with this track? How did it change your playing? And I want you to do that when you get done with this. I want you to sit down with a piece of paper and go, how did I change over the past 30 days? How did my playing change? Is it for the better? Is it for the worse? Where was I when I started? And I kind of want you to reassess this. The reason this works is because it's small incremental steps every day, okay? Whether you're working on a 2-month track or you're working on a 30-day plan, it doesn't matter. The process stays the same. I can't emphasize that enough. All right, so we gave you 2 pages of sheet music for a reason. We gave you the daily routine rundown for a reason. I want you to use that. We gave you a calendar. I want you to sit down and put down, I'm going to practice this specific program at this time, this day, and put it down there. Like, plan the whole month ahead of time. Then I gave you a daily BPM chart so that you can print off 30 of those and every day mark your BPMs. And then we gave you a progress checklist. That's where you're going to be checking off day 1, day 2. You have no idea how much it will help you just to check that off. You may be like, Stephen, you've been talking and this isn't even about drums. No, it's not, but it is. This is how you succeed in anything. So I want to teach you the proper way to practice before I ever show you anything on the drums. I want you to be able to practice properly. All right, so the thing I want to emphasize with this whole program is slow practice equals good practice. Okay, there's an old shooter's adage that I talk to my students about all the time, and it says slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So when they're teaching you to shoot a gun, to pull it from your hip, they say slow is smooth, smooth is fast. If you get it slow and you get it smooth and even, once you speed it up, it will maintain that. So once you get fast, it will still be even. Okay? I told you I would teach you how to increase your speed every day. I kind of have something that I have my students do when they're going through something like this, where they're trying to really, 30 days I want to be at this point. What you do is, if you have your double strokes at 80 BPM right now, okay, I can do them solid at 80 BPM, but by the end of the month, I want to be at 100 BPM, okay? 20 BPM jump in your rolls, that's pretty great for a month, especially if they're clean. So at that point, we break that down into daily goals. So if you increase your BPM 1 BPM every 1 to 2 days, you're going to hit that goal. And the thing about 1 BPM, like listen to this. Can you tell the difference between this? This is 80 BPM. This is 81 BPM. Can you tell the difference? No. Highly trained ears can tell the difference. But like we're talking about studio session cats that do this all day. You're tricking your body by going just such a small incremental step. But what we're doing is, and you may be like, I just did 1 BPM. We as drummers, we're like, I can do this roll at 80 BPM, no problem. And then we immediately want to speed it up to like here, and it doesn't work because we get all tense and we fail. We set ourselves up to fail. I want to set you up to succeed. So every 1 to 2 days, increase by 1 BPM. Okay? Now, if you figure out that you started too low, you may have to adjust that a little bit more. But that's the key for seeing growth every day. Small incremental steps, and that's where that checklist comes in. That's where charting your progress, because you can go, man, I'm not getting any faster, but you can go, you know what? No, 10 days ago, I was at 80 BPM, and now I'm on the 10th day, and I'm at 88 BPM. That's 8 BPM in 10 days. I'm on track to hit my goal of 20 BPMs. See what I'm saying? When you break it down like that, you can look back and go, oh no, I'm doing just fine. Awesome, let's go on with the program. So it gives you that reassurance instead of you like having that feeling that you have failed before you've even gotten started. All right, so the first day you may have to devote a little bit more time to this because you're learning the exercises, maybe even in the first couple of days. But I would suggest you take a day and really just learn the exercises. Once you learn these exercises, this program will take you 20 minutes. I say 25 minutes because you got to have some time changing the metronome. We got to have, maybe you got to take a drink of water. I give you 25 minutes, but in 25 minutes, you are going to be in and out. That's logging all of your practice time and going through these exercises. I promise, this works. This has been used by thousands of drummers, and that's not me being like, hey, thousands. No, it literally has, and I get emails every day about how much this has helped them, okay? It's not my magical exercises. It's simply we're taking big components and we're breaking them down into smaller things. Okay, whenever we're playing a double stroke roll, there's two main things that I see that a drummer does that leads to what we call dirty doubles. Have you ever walked into a drum lesson and they're like, okay, well, that was good, but your roll was dirty. Clean that up for next week. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? Does a dirty roll mean like he's saying four-letter words when he shouldn't? Like, what does a dirty roll mean? A dirty roll happens whenever we do one of two things. We have what's called pulsing. Pulsing is whenever we accent one or the other note. On your kick drum, you tend to accent the second note of a double because you're sliding to that. On the snare drum, you tend to accent the first, so you have a weak second note. So if I'm playing a double stroke roll, I want it to sound like this. I want it to sound nice and even. I don't want it to sound like this. Hear the pulsing? That's a problem I hear with students is all day. Pulsing, pulsing, pulsing. We want to even those strokes out. So to do that, we have to break out those specific skills. What's the specific skill? The skill is we have to add more emphasis to the second stroke. That's going to mean slowing things down and emphasizing the second stroke. So you'll notice several of the exercises do that. You'll also notice that I take several of these exercises very slow because that leads us to the second thing. The second thing is called crushing your diddles. I don't want you to crush the diddles. Don't crush them. We got to be respectful. That means you're not giving enough space in between the notes, or you're not actually giving them the notated value. So if we have a 16th note roll, double stroke, which is not very fast, and we're at 60 BPM, this is what that would sound like, just to give you a for instance, okay? If I can get technology to work with me. Here we go. 2E and 3E and so this is that. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and let me give you a little overhead shot. If you got any questions and you're watching this live, you can shoot those in through the email. The email address is right there above the chat board. So doing this, everything's even, everything's spaced out. At that tempo, it's very easy to see that that 16th note actually has a big notation. It's got a value to it. It takes up a space and time. But when we get to this point, we start crushing them because we start cheating the doubles, because whenever it was slower, we were cheating the doubles and we weren't solid with our subdivisions. So don't pulse and don't crush. You have to have equal emphasis on both notes, and you also have to give the note its notated value. If it's a 30-second note, guess what? That 30-second note has a place in time. It has a place it's supposed to land. All right? So let's go ahead. Let's check out the first exercise here. We have 10 exercises. You're going to be done with them in 20 minutes. You'll see that I say 1 minute each hand. Now going back, a drill is anything that distorts whatever game you're trying to play. So say you're a soccer player and you want to work on, let's say, penalty shots. So literally, you don't just want to work on penalty shots. You want to work on penalty shots with just your right foot, shooting from where you would whenever you, so you're just lining up taking penalty shots with just the right foot. Maybe you want to take penalty shots just the right foot in the right side of the net. So that's being specific. That's a specific drill that distorts part of the game. Okay, so that's what we're doing here with Make the Seconds Count. Make the seconds count, we're accenting every second note. It's a very simple exercise and it's so very effective. You will see drum lines all over the United States and other places using this, and drum teachers. I don't claim like, I'm a genius and came up with all these 10 exercises. Like I went up on a mountain and, you know, the 10 commandments of double strokes was bestowed upon me, and now none of that. Like, these are things that I've seen multiple instructors use over the years. Some of them I've written out myself, but a lot of them I've seen used by drum lines. So you're in good company. All right, so we're gonna go simple doubles. Right, right, and we're accenting the second note. Left, left. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you may say, Stephen, I gotta take my ring off. When I got married, that was something I didn't expect I was going to have to get used to, was playing with a ring on. And now it only bothers, you don't need to know this. Now it only bothers me whenever I'm playing on a pad because it clicks. All right, so we're accenting the second note. 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. We're staying relaxed. I'm watching my form. I'm making sure that everything's happening. So we have a tap leading into a downstroke, tap into a downstroke, whereas we have a downstroke with a tap after that. But really on a roll, we want both of those to be equal, so we want them to be equal strokes, not, we want them, we're emphasizing here on this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you're not going to be able to get very fast with this. That's not the point. The point is not speed at this point. Just go ahead and take your foot off the gas because it's not speed. It's cleanliness. You're going to do that 1 minute with the right hand leading. Then you're going to go to the left hand and you're going to do it 1 minute with your left hand leading. Okay? The great thing about this program is it's timed. So I want you to have either a stopwatch or use your phone. I have a metronome. I use, if any of you want to know, I use Pro Metronome for most of what I do. But there's some great ones. They're like, I think there's one called Frozen Ape or Visual Metronome. There's some great ones. I keep 2 or 3 on my phone because they're free or $2. I used to have to go out and buy Dr. Beat for like $100. I mean, now we have this. It also has a timer. So what I would do is I would set my timer, have my click going, start, watch the timer. Once it gets 1 minute, switch to the other side. When we go to the next exercise, you're going to have to adjust your tempo. All these exercises will not be at the same tempo. So let's go ahead and look at double taps. That's the second exercise. All right. Double taps I've heard used by, I don't know that I've ever seen a drum line that didn't use double taps. So what we're going to be doing, it's a very basic warm-up. You see that 3 times, and then we have the double bars with like the 2 dots. That means repeat that bar 3 times, 3x. So we're going 1, 2, 3, and then we go on to the last one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're playing this. This is the subdivision. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and. We do that 3 times. On the 4th time, we go to the last measure and we're going to play a paradiddle to turn this around. So it's going to go 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and that turns us around to where we go on the left hand. Okay, first time's all right-handed, second time's all left-handed. We're going to play this exercise for 2 minutes. So let's go ahead and play through this exercise. If we have, this is 8 notes, this is really slow, just so we can learn it. This is what I call tempo de lerno. 2 and 3E and a 4 and 1E, a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and 4. Last measure, a 2E and a 3E and a paradiddle, left, 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 left. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and 1E. Last measure, a 2E and a 3E and a paradiddle. And we're turning that around. Now, obviously, we're not going to play that at that tempo unless we're just learning it. So what I'll do is I'll speed it up. Okay, want them all even. Don't cheat the subdivisions. Keep it simple. This is a simple lesson. We're listening for those small things, the small nuances, articulation, evenness of notes, okay? Nothing should be accented more than the other. So we're going to do that for 2 minutes. So now we're through 4 minutes of the program. The next 2 minutes, we have double taps with accents, okay? I love things like this because I know, like, if I take a lunch break, I'm like, awesome, 20 minutes, I can do 30 days to better doubles. I can do my double strokes, okay? And I know, like, you'll memorize this, and once you've memorized this is a great thing if you just need to keep your doubles clean. If you got a gig, it's a great thing to warm up because you know how long does it take you? 20 minutes. So you can go, okay, cool. Or you can go, I'm just going to do 1 minute on each of them, and it takes me 10 minutes. So having it as a timed exercise and naming it 30 days to better doubles, we know, okay, I'm going to just do 30 days to better doubles real quick. And then we do that. It's kind of funny. 30 days to better doubles, I'm going to do it real quick. It takes 30 days. No, nobody get the joke? Okay, my jokes are not good. That's why I teach drums. Let's go to double taps with accents. The exact same exercise, except this time we're accenting every second note. We're really going to harp on not crushing your diddles. We need to open them up. So at this point, I'm going to now play it like this. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Last one, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a. This is the only thing that's different. We accent the downstroke and the very last note. So paradiddle. Then we're turning it around. 1 E and a 2 E and a. So sped up. Let's go at about 80 BPM. 3, 1 E and a 2 E. Okay, not concerned with speed at this point. That's going to come. I'm just concerned with consistently going through these exercises. All right, we're doing that for 2 minutes. That's 6 minutes of this program. We're already on track to hit our goal, which is 20 minutes. But then we're going to do double turnarounds. Double turnarounds, we're accenting again that second note, but we're going to work on turning that double around quicker. So if you play traditional grip or match grip, that's totally fine. I got a question earlier asking when do you switch from wrist to fingers with a roll, and there will be a time that you actually have to begin to switch, and so you're going to have to find that. That's something that I call a hinge point. A hinge point is anywhere where you ever have a door that's got like a creaky hinge and you open it, it's like, okay? Right? We don't want to have rusty hinges. A hinge point is any time where it may be a hiccup for us or a time where our hinges might squeak, and that point where we transition from using wrists to fingers is a hinge point. That's a time where you may have a hiccup in your roll. So to make that smooth, find that tempo and run that over and over. Smooth it out. It's just like running over something. Oh, that's a horrible, right? But say you have, something that say you run over an apple. First time you run over, it's kind of flat. And then the second time you run over it, and it gets flatter and flatter the more you run over it, okay? That's what we're doing with this, is we're making sure that smooths it out, okay? It's different for everyone, the tempo at which they need to transition wrists to fingers. All right, so let's go do double turnaround. The rhythm for double turnaround is going to go 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a. Then we have that paradiddle again. Paradiddle. We're accenting every second of the double. So 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a. Then that paradiddle with the last note accent. 4 E and a. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Then it's on the left hand. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Okay, so this is not an extremely hard exercise. None of these are hard exercises. The difficulty is not the point. If we made it too difficult, you wouldn't be able to focus on the basics that you need to. There's a question. Let me go ahead and answer this. I have a question. The whip and the accent technique differs player to player. So what I'm asking is, do you have to do the whip pull up before the accent? Yeah, you're always going to have to do some type. Obviously, when it slows down, people look at molar stroke. Let's just, if we're talking about strokes, look at molar stroke and they think they have to always have this big whipping motion. The thing about molar is the faster you're going, the smaller the stroke's going to get, but you still have that same essential, we're still pulling, and at some point it's just from the wrist. But yes, you're always going to have a pull-up to be able to do that. That's called a downstroke. So we have a tap and a downstroke. So rudimental guys will play more from the wrists whenever they do that. I play more from, I've always been a drum set guy, and so I play a lot more from the fingers than a rudimental guy would. I feel it makes me a little stiffer if I play from my wrists. So yeah, you do have to pull up whenever you're playing that. So let's see here. Just think of like a smaller whip motion. Like just think of like a real small pop. Like you're just trying to pop something with the end of your towel. Like think of like a real small one instead of that big exaggerated. The slower you get, the bigger your motions are going to get. So that's a double turnaround. We're doing that for 2 minutes. So so far we have, it's important to learn the names. Make the second counts, 2 minutes. Double taps, 2 minutes. Double taps with accents, 2 minutes. Double turnaround, 2 minutes. That's 8 minutes. Now we're doing 8 on a hand. How do you get better at 2 on a hand? You do a lot more on a hand. So we're doing 8 on a hand to get accustomed to doing a lot of notes at once. 8 on a hand is, again, another thing that you'll see drum lines across the country, across the world using. It's a warm-up. It's a standard warm-up. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What does that make you do? It makes you make sure that your rebound is happening. Because if, and I'm going to kind of get into some physics here, if I hit this stick and then all of a sudden no other force acted upon it and my hand disappeared and there was no gravity, again, I would hit and there would be an opposite and equal force, so or reaction. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I'm going to hit and it would fly backwards. So there's a force that's happening and it would fly backwards forever until acted upon by some other force. We're going to be in school now. So what we want to do is use our fingers to harness that. And when we're doing 8 on a hand, I can let that stick come back and it looks almost like my fingers are coming off the stick, but they're not. They're fully on the stick the entire time. So I'm playing 8 on a hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm throwing just about with the wrist, but if we got faster, I would start throwing with the fingers. Okay, you see how at that tempo, my fingers are moving, my wrist really isn't. At this tempo, my wrist is moving. So the faster I get, the smaller my motion, the more my fingers are going to begin to come into play. Okay, that's going to be number 5, exercise 5, 8 on a hand. Doing that for 2 minutes. You're halfway through the program at this point. Okay, halfway through the program. That's awesome. Now, let's see here. Somebody asked, would that relate to thumb movement in traditional grip? Yes, that would relate. So if you're... So we're talking about using fingers. Yes, in traditional grip, if you want to take, if that's what your question is, it's going to relate to if I'm using my fingers here. The thumb, obviously in traditional grip, this is an exercise that they do to help you learn to use your fingers on the stick, and then you turn it over. When you turn it over, you've got a lot of motion here. So yeah, your thumb grip would be there. It would be a little bit firmer when we're going through that. So it doesn't matter if you play traditional or you play match grip. Either one works. Let's see here. Check yourself, don't wreck yourself. That's going to be the 6th exercise. And why do I call it check yourself? Well, I use something a lot. I use something called a check pattern. And I don't know why I just seductively rubbed my pad. A check pattern is anything that we use to check the exercise against that we're using. A lot of guys don't like to use the check, or I shouldn't say a lot of guys. A lot of my students don't like to use it because it takes up time. I'm not concerned with the time it takes up. I'm concerned with what it's doing for you. What it's doing is making sure that you don't crush your diddles. All right, that's one of the 2 culprits that we talked about in the beginning. So we're going to do one measure of just regular 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, and then one measure of regular double strokes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Then we're going to try to make them sound as close as possible. Obviously, double strokes will not sound exactly like single strokes, nor should they. But they shouldn't, they're a different stroke. It should not sound exactly. You should have some type of a different sound inflection. But we should be able to get them very similar. And that's what I want you to do is whenever you're playing 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. I don't want it sounding like this. Clean on the singles and then. Okay, we don't want to stutter. We want to give them equal, very solid subdivision, okay? Whatever tempo you're at. Okay, so that's going to be called check yourself, don't wreck yourself. We're going to do 1 minute with the right hand leading. Then after that 1 minute, we're going to do 1 minute with the left hand leading. So 1 minute this way, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 minute with the left hand leading, 1 E and a 2 E. Very simple exercise. Check yourself, don't wreck yourself. You're now 12 minutes through this, okay? The burn. This one we're going to play the first measure. We have paradiddles in eighth notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then we're playing double strokes for 6 measures. You see that second measure? There's got a 6x above that and double bars. We are going to repeat that 6 times. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E, and we're doing that 6 times. The last measure, it goes 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4. Then we turn it around. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now let's go ahead and I'll play that for you. So let's do it like 100 BPM. 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3. Last measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last measure. 1, 2, 3. Making them as even and as clear as possible. All right, now the last one not the last one, excuse me. The next one we have, that's called the burn. How long are we doing that? What do you think? We've had 2 minutes, 2 minutes, we're doing it 2 minutes, that's right. So we're now done with 14 minutes of the program. All right, we have, again, let's repeat them together. We have the make the seconds count, double taps with accents, double turnaround, 8 on a hand, check yourself, don't wreck yourself, the burn. The next one is going to be called quick hand, and that's where we're going to begin to simulate these quicker movements with the hand. So I'm going to play all right-handed. I'm going to play 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Still going to have the same skeleton pattern, but now I'm going to play 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. I'm playing 2 30-second notes, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and. Not 16ths, 30-second notes. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Left hand. Okay, we're going to do 2 minutes. So going through that 2 minutes, every time we go through it, we reverse it. All right, so you do that 4 times. You 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Again. Last time. Left hand. Obviously go through that 2 more times. So each time through with each hand, it's 8 measures. Make sure that you're looking at clarity and make sure you're relaxing. Don't let your fulcrum tighten up at that point. That's going to start to crush what's happening there. It's going to crush your diddles. So now we're through 16 minutes. The next exercise we have is called the distance. The distance is going to be a really long exercise, and we're going to play each of these measures 8 times. And what we're going to do is we're going to rotate where the diddle is. So the diddle's going to be on the first beat of the 16th notes. This is our skeleton. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E, and we're going to put a, not accent, we're going to put a diddle on the downbeat of every beat. The slash you see through that just means play 2 30-second notes instead of 1 16th note. So now we have 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1, 2, 3, 4. Play that 8 times. Then we go to the second measure. What do you think we're going to do? We're going to put a diddle on the second note. So the E, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and Then we're going to put the double stroke on the third note, the third 16th note. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 8 times. Then on the last measure, we're going to put it on the last beat of each, the last 16th note of each beat. So the 1 E and 2 E and Okay, so I'll play that for you. Follow along if you can. 8 times through each measure. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's slow that down. We're learning this. We're learning this. Here we go. 80 BPM. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next measure. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, ready, change. 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Last time here. 8, 2, 3, change. 1 E and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, that is going to be the next to last exercise. So notice that there's not a 10th exercise notated. Well, what happened? All we're doing, you'll look down at the third page and we have open roll. So for 2 minutes, I want you to go as comfortable as you can and as fast as you can do it with articulation. I want 2 minutes of just an open roll. Working on keeping the clarity and the consistency there the entire time. Okay? That is all we're doing. That's it, those 10 exercises. So we have make the seconds count, we have double taps with accents, double turnaround, 8 on a hand, check yourself, don't wreck yourself, the burn, quick hand, the last 2, the distance, and then open roll. That's going to be 20 minutes. Allow yourself 4 or 5 minutes to chart your progress, make sure that you're increasing your BPMs every 1 to 2 days, and then give yourself a little time to switch the timer because this whole thing is a timed exercise. So this allows you to go, okay, cool. Practice time is after lunch every day. I'll take 10 minutes. I got 40-minute lunch break. I'm going to take 20 minutes and eat, 20 minutes and do the exercises. Okay, that's what we're going for. It's consistent. It's every day. It's measured progress. You've set your goals, and I promise you, if you will do this by the end of this 30 days, you are going to see huge improvements. Okay? I promise you, just stick with the program. You will not understand until you stick with the program.